From the UpCo Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching The Press Row. I'm Jenni Carlson here with Berry Trammell. Time for our inbox segment. Your email questions answered here on video. Let's get right to it and start with a question from Ron. Ron says, while watching the Sooner women this season, it has often occurred to me that if Courtney Paris had Joanna McFarland's tenacity, hustle, and will to win, the Sooners could have been playing for national championships during Courtney's tenure at OU. What about that, Berry?
Well, I mean, I would say that if Joanna McFarland could jump like, Naisha Stevenson or somebody, the Sooners would be playing for a national championship now.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, she didn't have, Courtney didn't have that kind of fire that Joanna McFarland has, but Joanna McFarland doesn't have some other stuff. This is not stuff you go out to the store and buy and cultivate. It's something you're born with, and if you don't have it, you don't have it. I think it's admirable what Joanna McFarland's done. She's really made herself into a fine player, a great player, especially in these two NCAA tournament games. But, people have done this forever. Marcus Dupree's the classic example, saying, if Marcus Dupree had that inner drive, well, guess what? He didn't. So what do you do?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it is impressive what Joanna McFarland has done, especially in the NCAA tournament. She's a whole different player for this Oklahoma team, and she's a large reason why Oklahoma's still playing into the Sweet 16, a team that has been decimated by injuries and all those other things. But let's not kid ourselves. You talk about tenacity, will to win. Courtney Paris was a pretty tough customer. I know a lot of people, like you, in hindsight, you tend to forget some things, but she got after it too. Let's not forget that she really wanted to win. You saw that evidence in her when they lost. So maybe we don't see it as outwardly. Maybe she didn't show it the way maybe Joanna McFarland does, but I still think she had a great will to win. So let's not shortchange Courtney Paris either. Back to the inbox, this one from Chris. Chris says, in the last 5 Thunder games, Derek Fisher is 0 of 15 from the three-point line. Thunder fans are 2 of 5 from half court. Fish will make one, won't he?
Well, on Wednesday night, he didn't. He missed 3 more. He's 0 of 18. I think the answer is clear. The Thunder needs to have Derek Fisher take half-court shots. Obviously, his percentage would go up.
It's the hot spot in the arena.
I guess. I don't know. Guy last night almost made one. His on target, his nice straight shot, just a little bit short. But anyway, I don't know what's going on with Derek Fisher. I actually was going to write about him last night, so I watched him throughout the whole game. He's actually getting some things done. He is pretty good on defense. He's not an athletic stopper, but he gets in the way. He's sort of a meddler now. Made some nice passes, facilitates some stuff. He's not a terrible player. Just can't get his shot. I think he will start making shots. The only problem with Derek Fisher is if Scotty Brooks starts relying on him too much, starts playing him, letting those minutes rise up closer to 20. Minutes need to start dropping down, get in the 10-minute range. But right now, Derek Fisher is not hurting the Thunder.
Well, he's not hurting them, but he's not helping them much either. Let's be honest here. I mean, and I think Derek Fisher, when it comes to intangibles, off the charts. Great in the locker room, great around these guys who are still a fairly young team, still going through growing pains of, figuring out what it's like to be a team that everybody's aiming for now. So I think he brings a lot in terms of intangibles. I think those guys do listen to him in a way that's maybe unique to players in that locker room. But, yeah, if the minutes continue to creep up, I'm against it, Berry. I mean, he's going to take shots because shots are going to be there. They just can't have it. They got to have some other guys in there when it comes to the playoffs. We'll see if Scott Brooks does that. All right, back to the inbox, and this one from Jeff. Jeff says, there is no way that the Los Angeles Lakers streak is a bigger deal than OU's 47-game winning streak. Winning over 5 different seasons with a 10-game regular season schedule and changing rosters is a much greater accomplishment. In fact, UCLA's 88-game streak in men's basketball is better than a 3-month streak. All right, Berry, let's end the suspense. What is the best streak?
Well, I tend to say this. I think every major professional streak is better than any major collegiate streak for this reason. The pros don't control their schedule. The pros have to play who they play, where they play, when they play. Somebody else tells them. In college, you get to do a lot of that yourself. And while the Sooners of the 50s, Bud Wilkinson scheduled really intriguing non-conference games, most of those non-conference teams were in down cycles. Notre Dame, Texas OU played Texas 5 times during the winning streak. None of those were vintage Texas teams. Only 2 ended up with winning records. So, and the Big 7 in the 50s was just awful, just a terrible football conference. So while it was a great monumental feat, it doesn't equate to what the Lakers did in 1971-72. The Lakers were playing They played during their 33-game winning streak. They played 4 back-to-back-to-back games, 3 nights in a row, and they didn't have charter flights. They were beating the Houston Rockets on a Friday night, and then at 6 a.m. Saturday, getting on a continental flight to fly to Portland or someplace. So that was a monumental streak. I think the Lakers trumps the Sooners.
Well, I mean, I think you bring up a great point about how things are different now than they were then. So that adds some intrigue to what the Lakers did. But you still have to consider those streaks, UCLA and Oklahoma, for the reasons that were brought up. Changing rosters, you can't pick your players as easily. They pick you ultimately. You're still talking about 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old players, whereas in the pros you're talking about a more seasoned athlete. But yeah, I think when you talk about some of those things, like you say, a back-to-back-to-back and flying commercial, I think you got to give it up to the Lakers back in the 70s. All right, lastly from the inbox, this one comes from Tim. Tim says, Oklahoma State must emphasize defense and rebounding in its recruiting and in its play, or the Cowboys will be the one-and-done program. To have Oregon out-rebound us like that would have never happened under Eddie Sutton. Barry, you were there. You saw it with your own eyes. What about this?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It actually did happen to Eddie Sutton from time to time. Eddie Sutton got popped a couple times in the NCAA tournament and was overpowered on occasion. Now, Eddie had great teams, and Travis Ford has not met that consistency. But I got to tell you, the Cowboys got a terrible draw. I mean, I heard Rick Pitino, he's got Oregon this week. He said Oregon's a 3 or 4 seed. He said, sometimes this happens, but he said, this is a team that's, worthy of a 3 or 4 seed. When you watch them play, that's the truth. I do think that Travis Ford needs to continue to upgrade the talent. The Cowboys saw that, they had a very similar resume to Oregon. What Oregon had was a few more good players, really, when you get right down to it. Oregon had 6 or 7 really good players. OSU's got 4 or 5. Cowboys need to get to that 6 or 7 level. So I agree. Travis Ford recruited well. He needs to recruit even better. But I don't. Let's not pretend that everything was fabulous under Eddie Sutton. It happened to Sutton on occasion. You covered 2 of his, or he went out twice in the opening round. You were there both times, in Long Island and then in Greenville, South Carolina. So it happens. Hopefully Oklahoma State will be even better next year. Would not get such a bad draw.
Right, and I think when you talk about defense with this team, maybe they didn't play great defense, didn't rebound great against Oregon, but that was not a problem overall for this team. I think they played fairly good defense throughout the year. Was it perfect? No, but no team is perfect, and that includes Eddie Sutton's Cowboys. So I think that this was a team that played fairly good defense throughout the year. They're going to need to continue that. That's really got to be a hallmark in college basketball, because you just don't know from year to year, are you going to get back those great elite offensive players? It's hard to know. Defense is your bedrock, and I know that any coach worth his mettle preaches that. Eddie Sutton did. I know Travis Ford talks a lot about it. So the Cowboys got to get back to it, but I don't think they really ever strayed from it. I'm with you, Barry. I think Oregon just turned out to be much tougher than a first-round opponent ever should have been for those Cowboys. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.